Okay, today we're going to be talking about the Squier Classic Vibe series. I'm going to be covering all the main questions that people tend to have about these, the differences between the original made in China version and the current made in Indonesia version, differences in body wood, pickups, neck size, fret wire size, etc. Now this is a Classic Vibe 70s Telecaster Custom, and one of the main reasons I bought this particular model illustrates one of those differences. In the original made in China versions, Squier was using more traditional body woods like alder, whereas in these newer models, the ones made in Indonesia, they're using poplar on a lot of the 70s models and NATO, N-A-T-O, on a lot of the 50s and 60s models. And you might think, oh, that's not good, it's not vintage correct or whatever. Well, I haven't read anything that says that the tone suffers by the use of these different woods, and they have a really clear benefit, which is they can be a lot lighter weight. If you go on Sweetwater and you pull up Classic Vibes and you have them listed by lightest guitar, which is one of the ways Sweetwater will allow you to filter your results, you'll see a lot of the lightest guitars are made of poplar and NATO, frequently in the 7-pound range, sometimes even under 7 pounds, which, as you might know, is very unusual for a solid body Telecaster or Stratocaster to weigh in at 7 pounds or under. So I found this one at 6 pounds, 15.4 ounces, and I was like, heck, that's pretty amazing for a Telecaster, and I wanted one with a humbucker in the neck. Love, love, love the vintage tint amber maple fretboard. I mean, for me, if there's two main reasons to buy a Classic Vibe, one would be, again, you can get a lightweight guitar, and if you like maple necks, maple fretboards, with the vintage tint, it just feels fantastic and looks stunning, I think. It just has the total vintage vibe, the Classic Vibe, of which the name originated. Okay, so what else about these? Well, the other criticism I read a lot, especially about the original made in China ones, was that the necks were really slim. And I was worried about that because I don't want a really thin neck. If you've watched my channel, you've seen that I took a flyer on a Squier Bullet Mustang just as a project guitar, and it's a really fun $150 guitar, right? But the neck is really skinny. It's not something I'd want to play all the time. Well, I'm very pleased to report that at least on these 70s customs, and from what I've read on some of the other made in Indonesia models, this actually has a fairly chunky neck. My other two Fenders are both American series. One's a Strat, one's a Tele, and they have the modern C-shaped neck. This is actually a tad chunkier. So if you're looking for a Telecaster on a budget that has a chunky neck, you know, slightly above normal chunky neck, with the vintage tint with the maple board, this is really, really nice. Another thing that people talk about with the made in China ones, they're like, oh, they have the Tone Rider pickups, they have the Tone Rider pickups. Well, apparently on those original made in China Classic Vibes, the pickups were made in the same factory as the Tone Rider ones, and they're very similar, if not the same. But that doesn't mean these designed by Fender ones are bad or something, they're just different. I'm someone who replaces pickups on virtually every guitar, including both of my American Fenders. And so far, I really like this bridge pickup. It sounds great to me. Will I someday replace it? Probably, but I don't need to right away. And then these faux wide-range humbuckers, everyone talks about these, whether they're Squier or the lower-end Fenders. You know, Fender's been using fake wide-range humbuckers for decades. They only recently came up with a vintage-correct replica of the 70s original. The rest of them, like these Squiers, are just regular sized humbuckers in a bigger casing. Again, doesn't make it wrong or bad. It's just a humbucker. When I take this off and open it up, I'm going to see if they really do have 250K pots on these, which if they do for a humbucker, I'll be replacing those with 500K pots. I may even disconnect the tone pot entirely for the neck humbucker to try to get some more chime out of it. There's plenty of demos here on YouTube of the tones of this guitar. I wasn't really wanting to do a review of this particular guitar. I just want to say with the Classic Vibes, so far to me, I have not seen any reason to replace the pickups. And from what I've read, that's what people are saying as well, that yeah, the old Tone Rider ones were great, but these new ones are fine too. And certainly not ones that you have to rush out and replace right away. One of the last things is the fret wire. So another thing I was nervous about was Fender has switched, not just for Squiers and the Classic Vibe, but even for some American Fenders now, they're using narrow, tall frets instead of the medium jumbos that they've used for decades. And that's what I have and like on my American Fenders. And I was thinking, I don't know about this narrow, tall thing, because again, on the Bullet Mustang, I wasn't wild about it. It's okay. Again, very pleased to report that these frets feel great, and I'm not noticing any big difference in them between them and my medium jumbos on the American Fenders. I mean, if you really analyze it, you can feel it, but it's not like something you're going to stop and go, oh, this is different. I don't like it. I can't play this. So to summarize, pickups are fine. Neck is amazing. Frets feel really good. You are probably going to have to put a little money into having it set up if you don't do setup work yourself. For me, I'm going to swap out the pick guard on this one just because even though the black on black is totally classic, it's, you know, a little too much associated with Keith's guitar. I don't want to just be a copy of Keith's guitar. So, you know, probably go with a white or a cream or a pearloid pick guard. I'll probably put some Wilkinson. You can get Wilkinson compensated brass saddles for like 13 bucks on Amazon, so it's kind of a no-brainer. Nothing wrong with the steel ones there, but again, they're not compensated, so I will probably do that for better intonation. The ashtray bridge is obviously classic, so there's no issue there. I haven't mentioned the tuners, but they are vintage style and they're holding tune just fine. So overall, you know, especially if you can get a deal on one in the anywhere from $250 to $400, I think it's an insane value. I got this one for $395. Would I pay full price, you know, $450-ish, maybe? You know, if it had the exact weight and I got to play it first, I probably wouldn't buy mail order. But you can find deals on these Classic Vibe guitars all day long, and they are really worth it. I have no question that this will be indistinguishable from my American Fenders. Once I have it set up the way I like it. It's really got the bones to be a great guitar. So that's my Classic Vibe review. Check it out. Put some comments below if you own one. And thanks as always for joining me. I'll see you next time.